हैं बादा मस्त बादा आशा में अहमदियत चलता है दौर मीना ओ जाम अहमदियत.
Discussion news. This is the one we've been waiting for. I'll just share this link. Can everyone see this? Can you see this?
Yes, Qasim, we see it.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Ya Huzur. My question is that racism has been extremely normalized over the years. What are beloved Huzur's opinions on this, and how should racist comments be handled?
When you are clapping, you cannot clap with one hand. You have to use the other hand. The fault is from both sides. Those who are immigrants to these Western countries, those migrants did not try to integrate themselves in the society. And apart from that, most of them do not work. And if they work, they do not pay taxes, right? And they try to isolate themselves from local people, right? And when these local people say that you are not integrating yourself in their society with them, and you are also getting benefits from the government, from the tax they pay, then that makes them get annoyed, right? So this is why those people, those leaders who have some, ill will about the immigrants or do not like immigrants, they are trying to incite the general public. This is why racism is increasing. If the immigrants try to integrate themselves within the society, then you can remove the doubts of local people. So it does not mean that you dress yourself as they dress. It does not mean that you go to the clubs and start taking alcoholic drinks. It does not mean that you dance in their clubs. It does not mean that you lose your morals. But at the same time, if they realize that these immigrants are beneficial for our society, they are participating in the betterment of the country, they're trying to improve the economy of the country, then they will not raise such type of questions. And at the same time, when we are interacting with these people, we can remove their doubts as well. I have seen so many people who come to see me when I explain what the Islamic teaching is and how should we behave, and if we are wrong, then obviously you will raise questions against us. But if we are helping you, then why should you raise any question or having any ill will with regards to immigrants? So we have to work hard on it. See, you tell your friends that we are trying to be part of the nation. And you tell them that this is our belief, that the country in which we are living in is our country. And it is the saying that the love of your country is part of your faith. So we love our country. So in this way, you will have to work hard and try to explain everything to your fellow students instead of keeping yourself isolated and distant from the local people, mixed with them. But keep in mind that you are not going to lose your morals and your teaching your faith when you are going to mix with them. Okay? So I have spoken on this issue on some of my addresses, Ask your Sadr Sahaba to find out those excerpts, this specific particular excerpts of those speeches and give it to you. That will satisfy you. Okay?
Jazakallah.
So here, my point is, I mean, it's a really good point with racism. It's not just one-sided issue. It comes from two sides, especially as us MD. If we are to remove the doubts about MDs and all the beliefs, we have to actually help preach them and get like mix in their society while not losing our morals. So what does everyone else thinks about this?
Amir, got anything to say first?
Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks.
How's it going? TikTok and yourself?
Alhamdulillah, nice to hear your voice again.
Yeah, I know it's been a while.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I was going to say I agree. It does work both ways. I mean, I've personally experienced it on both sides as well. So I'll give you like a personal example where one of my cousins, he came from Europe, but sort of Pakistan as well. So he was in Europe for like a year or two, and then he came to the UK, and sometimes it can be something very small, you know, like why are people like this, or I don't like this type of food. But then I sort of actually talked to him quite openly to explain that you know, there's a reason why you came here, but you also have to integrate and understand, you know, the ways, like people that were born into this country, we sort of know that. But when you're coming from outside, I think people just don't educate themselves enough. Eventually, a lot of them get around it. I think, you know, either just naturally because their kids start going to school, or they get to know more people, they start working, etc. But sometimes you do see that gap within, you know, Asian community. It's quite common. So I definitely do think it works both ways. And likewise, if we go abroad, we can have a certain mindset. Like, for example, us born in the UK, we can think Pakistan is so and so, but that's, you know, you still need to understand not everything is bad, not everyone is bad. It's you know, it takes a bit of time to understand that, and it's mutual. And I'm not saying that's necessarily for racism, but I think there's an element to it, and it can build. Racism can build from small things like that accumulating.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant point. Without Jazakallah for sharing that. So racism, immigration, you know, all ties in to one topic, and for me, it was just quite fascinating for Zur to, instead of, you know, defending racism in sense of, you know, you shouldn't do it, he's more taking the stance of actually look at the reason why it's happening, and ask yourselves, am I the cause of it happening? Am I actually benefiting society? These guys, this country has allowed us, you know, probably all of us, if not us, then our parents, not our parents, then, you know, our grandparents or great grandparents, who have come and settled here, you know, and live with the religious freedom. You know, in a way, you know, we are given this opportunity to live this comfortable life as we are. So always, it's a great point to always try and give back, and don't give them any reason to show any racism to us. But at the same time, I remember beloved Hazur, once he was addressing, I think it was either on national level or Ijtima or something, and it was in an English speech. But towards the end, Hazur suddenly switched to Urdu, and he started talking to all the immigrants that have come to this country from Pakistan and telling them that, you know, one of the reasons you have come here is because you have come on asylum, because you claim that your country isn't giving you religious freedom. So when you come here, you know, instead of showing that loyalty to the country and thanking them, you go the total opposite way. And on the other hand, you basically cause more of a damage to society. So I thought that was quite powerful for Dhur to address that, especially in Urdu, and tell them that, you know, this is how you should behave when you come to this country. There's certain roles and certain rules that you have to follow to be able to live by it. And I think this is one of those things that if you don't do it, then this is the result of it. You know, you're pushing people to abuse you, pushing people to say hurtful things to you. So definitely the prevention is better than cure, and so we should always try to prevent any harm by being the best that we can be as well. Is there anyone else that has anything to say on this? Hamza, you're quite opinionated. If you have anything to say on racism, any points that you'd like to make, please. If you're there. Me?
Like, what
Shabbat?
is up? Sorry, I was just away from I was away from my laptop.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
I think it's just echoing what Azul said. Really,
Yeah.
in any takeaway from racism, if there's a falling out between two parties, whether it's friends, family, there's usually shortcomings on both parties, and usually, if you have big egos involved or people with big personalities, you always see the shortcoming in the other party, and you see they've done this wrong, they've handled it badly in this way. But I think that's human nature. We always like to see the bad in others, and we want to see the best. We want to see ourselves in the best light possible. But sometimes you have to swallow your pride and reflect and think, where could I have maybe done something better? And obviously, no one deserves racism. I'm not saying that. But is there any more that we can do, as I said, to integrate, to serve and help humanity, to help our country more? And I think reflecting on maybe where we could do more will help. It can't do any, worst case, it can't make things any worse. It can only do good if you think, oh, no one deserves racism. So it's, I think, just self-reflection and seeing where you can do more and integrate more, sort of thing.
Do you think with recent events that have happened, especially around the world, the way people are tackling it, do you think it's coming to any effect? For example, like in football, how they take the knee for 8 seconds. I know people are saying that it's not really curing racism, but at least it's keeping the conversation going. Do you think things like this are good? Do you think it should carry on going, or?
I think so long as it's done in a peaceful manner,
Yeah.
crack on. So long as it's not, it's not violent. It's not like those protests or things with riots where people's property gets damaged and people get hurt.
Yeah.
So long as it's in a peaceful manner, I don't think there's anything wrong in it. How much impact it's having, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it, so long as it's in a peaceful manner.
Yeah, I think the people doing it as well, especially taking the knee, they know themselves that it's not going to really do anything. But at least it's, we're sitting here today, we're still talking about it. And if
Yeah.
they stop doing it,
Raising awareness, isn't
doing
it? Raising awareness. Yeah.
you're just raising awareness, and that's I think Raheem Sterling was talking about it in an interview, and he said they asked him, like, do you think it's helped in any way? He said honestly that I don't think it's done anything, because it's still happening. If they lose, they're still expected to get abuse. But at least they're raising awareness, as you said, which is the main thing. I think people, we always say that you should always go back to religion and see what religion teaches and how it was practiced. And the Holy Quran has made it clear that Allah Ta'ala says that, O mankind, we have created you from a male and female, and we have made you into tribes and sub-tribes, that you may recognize one another. Verily, the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah is he who is most righteous among you. Surely Allah is all-knowing and all-aware. That's beautiful, isn't it? Because it's basically telling us that it doesn't matter what color or creed you come from. When you return back to Allah, you're all going to be the same. And that's what the Holy Prophet ﷺ said in one of his last messages to his people, is that make sure you treat everyone well before you return back to Allah. Because when you return back to Allah, all of your things will be shown to everyone. And it doesn't matter if you think in the world, if you thought you were better than anyone, but I made everyone equal. I made everyone one. So treat everyone as one. And I think that was a really beautiful message by the Holy Prophet that probably everyone can live by. But yeah, going back to the topic, Hamza, do you think have you ever experienced racism? I know we live in quite a mixed area, especially Warsaw. Quite a mixed background. But have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen anyone go through it?
It's weird. Nothing proper springs to mind, to be honest. Maybe subtly, but not overtly. Maybe like the looks you get from people in certain areas going through Birmingham, but nothing like really like in your face sort of thing.
That's interesting because I don't know, Huda would know, but we live in down south in Islamabad. We lived in quite a white area, didn't we? So
Yeah, completely white.
yeah.
I can tell you incident about myself.
That's it.
And I think in racism, the most common sentence they use it is to go back to your country.
Yeah.
That's very things come out. First, I'm just going to tell you about how the people react when they don't like somebody. And then when they don't like someone, culture or color or something, the first thing they're going to start hating you. And when you come across with the people who are a racist, the first kind of thing is just, he just got heat up with you. The second thing, the word's going to come out is from mouth, is to go back to your country. You don't belong there. Yeah, or they call you swearing. A pretty common one is, because mostly people come from Pakistan or they've been born here, color is pretty much the same. So they call it like, you know, the Paki things. So that's been, I've been called a few times in this situation.
You know what you should do in this case is just tell them, I will go back, I will take all my chicken curry and rice with me then.
Yeah. Or they call you, I don't know.
How did you feel when you were being called names and like?
First I was just for a few seconds I was just froze. I don't know what to do. Yeah, and rather than provoking him, I just walked off.
Yeah,
and I said, "There's no point because he's a racist man. So if I stay here, he's gonna kick off. There's no point."
Yeah.
So I just walk off. That was that. So it just felt like, you know, you don't belong to here. This is not your country.
Yeah.
You know. But the thing is that, like you said about the work thing, when you are working, they say, "Oh, you're taking over a job." So when you're not working, oh, they're not working, they're taking benefits. So what should you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's quite different. Situation is quite different. I mean, and the police won't do much about it. I mean, to be honest, unless, you know, there are strong witnesses or some violence involved in society, or then they probably just take some action.
Yeah.
But it has seen in recent years racism and hate crimes. I think they do interlink some point, and the hate crime has risen in recent years, and it's mostly towards the ethnic minorities.
Yeah.
So the counter argument to that though is, if you go to an Asian or the minorities country, for example, if you turn it on its head, they do the same to the other side. If you think about it, it's because we live in this country, we all feel that it's the other way around. But if, say, for example, you live in Pakistan or something like that, or anywhere else that has a different race or different culture, they will typically say similar things about the other side. And it can be, it's always interesting. It's always, I don't know, it's a very difficult subject, because for me, like, racism, understand what it is, because it's based on ethnicity or color, right? But equally, in society, there's other barriers or, you know, issues that are basically racism, but in a different form. Whether that's, you know, someone's, you know, the way they live, or cleanliness, their sex, or whatever it is. And it's quite common nowadays, you know, like, you know, do we accept every type of person? You know, they were talking about the Euros, where Germany wanted to make their Munich stadium the rainbow color, for example, and UEFA said, we don't get involved in any politics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where do you draw the line in this sort of thing? You know, racism is ethnicity and color. That's just one angle. But there's so many other things that happen, and it can be our own people. You know, even within just Pakistani culture, there's differences. You know, there's people that are born in this country, and then there's people that come from outside in. Some adapt really well, others don't. And sometimes that can be a natural issue as well. So yeah, I guess I'm just giving some, you know, different views on the subject. You know, it's quite easy for us to say that it happens here, but I bet you it happens to the white person going to the other country.
Yeah, I think the first point you made, I think it goes back to what Azur said, really. You can't really clap with one hand. And, you know, not everyone is bad. That's what we have to remember. And this is the point I wanted to make when Asif was talking. And Huda, I was mentioning to you as well when we're in Wade and in school. I don't think you were in school at the same time. You're a bit older than me. When I was in year 7, we were playing football up on the hill. It was just us Islamabad guys who were playing with our English friends. And one guy just came. Still remember his name, remember his face as well. But he came and kicked our ball away. And then we were like, "Why'd you do that?" And he told us, he said he called us different names, Pakistani names. And you guys go back to your country. And that was actually our first experience of racism throughout my whole life up to that point. I never really experienced it. Even though I'm not Pakistani myself, I felt like, I feel offended in some way. And this guy's telling us to go back to our country. But what I wanted to make is I don't think the majority of people are like that. I think it's a very minute people. If you take the school, for example, there's only one person saying that. And out of that one person, even his own friends were against him for saying it. And just the way our school handled it, and the way our school dealt with it was amazing to see. They cracked down on it straight away. They made people, know that we don't tolerate racism at all in our school. And they even suspended that student, and nothing happened to us. So for me, it was an eye opener to see that wow, these people are really accepting of our culture, of our color as well, and they don't judge us for it. So it was quite amazing to see that. But it made me realize as well that we need to be careful wherever we go, because we don't know what people are thinking about us. So we always need to be wary of that and not provoke them to say anything, because the majority, like I said, the majority of people wherever we go will be tolerable, and will understand, because the UK is so multicultural now that's almost, it's impossible to be openly racist to someone. And for the people that are doing it, they're always going to be in the minority, hopefully. And that's all we can really do, really. Yeah, Abid, if you want to say something. You want to say something?
Yeah, as you already said, that it's very diverse in the UK. Many nationalities, many races are living here, but it still comes down to educating all the people that racism does exist. Tell your children as well that you will face racism, but how you should tackle it. Like in school, you will get it. I have lived in Germany for 12 years, and I used to live in a place where only two brown people used to live. Right? Only two brown families were there, mine and one of my friends. That's it. And the rest was white people, Russians. And in school, they used to look at you in such a way as Huda was just saying that, sorry, Asif Bhai was saying that, okay, they have this in their eyes saying that, okay, go back to your country, you don't belong here. You do feel inferior to them as a child. You're thinking like you are 5 6 years old, and it's constant in your mind. What would you say to that child to overcome racism? That's my thing, that how to educate your child to tackle racism if it does come towards you.
Can I?
Yeah, go for it, your cousin.
I mean, literally, as Huzur literally mentioned, I mean, everyone just said, like, people say, go back to your country. And obviously, as Huzur said, this is because we don't try to engage in the society, we don't participate, and we don't realize. So a good way for someone, I would say, to tackle the racism is to engage in society, attend events, show them that you actually belong here. just as Azur said,
Qasim
only,
bhai,
only
let me
then you can
intercept.
tackle racism. Well, yeah, that's one way, but
Yeah, let me intercept with that. Okay, you are doing everything. You are attending your school events. You're attending your local events. You're going to places you are required to go. You do everything as a resident should do, as a local resident. But they still look at you as you're not part of their society.
there's also the aspect of praying to Allah as well while doing all this. And even if all this isn't working, you could still pray to Allah and ask for his prayer and then still continue to do it.
I think one of the best things is, as Zuru says, is becoming a model to society. And a lot of things that our friends will say is that I don't know many Muslims, but the Muslim that I do know is this, and he's an Ahmadi Muslim. And from his conduct, I see that they are very good people. And I have a friend who actually said that to me once. He said, I don't believe in any religion, but if I was to follow one, I'd follow what you guys follow, because I've seen how you guys act and behave. And I know just from knowing you that everything that's being said on the media, it's all totally wrong and it's all false news about your religion. So, you know, one of the greatest things that we can always do to tackle it is just by, you know, following Islam as it should be. And the people, you don't know who's going to be seeing you, you don't know who's going to be observing you, analyzing how you are, but that will ultimately make them decide whether, you know, you're a good person or a bad person in their opinion. Yeah, Jazakallah. I think we'll do one more point. Sabur just joined in, so Sabur, we'll quickly go to you now. So we're talking about racism. We're talking about you know, experiences that people have had and how to tackle it. It'd be good to get also your opinion and your view on it, seeming as you're from obviously an African background, and maybe you've probably had experiences of it in the UK as well. Just if you can. I know you're probably driving, but yeah, nice. Alaikum salam.
Yeah, I just got home and I thought, you know, getting and joining properly rather than driving and talking.
Yeah, wicked. Jazakallah.
Alaikum. Been a while since I've been part, but just been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so racism is something that, you know, obviously we all, you know, have basically experienced or seen or witnessed. And me being, you know, black and obviously African background and being in the UK is something that I've personally actually experienced. And it's just something, well, my personal experience is it was actually at work, which, you know, something that you didn't never had thought of, but after working a long time with people like that, you know. But mine was you know, during the protest of Black Lives Matter in London, I think it was last year summertime, and after the killing of George Floyd, so I went to work. And basically I was off 3 days before, so I went to work the following day, only to see a picture of a black guy printed out, and he was being harassed by police. So that picture was basically put on the cabinet at work, and they wrote my name to it, you know. And it was something. I walked in straight away. I saw that. I could not believe it. So how I dealt with it was something else, you know. It's just first I rang my wife in it because I was thinking to go back home, you know, that day, that morning after going to work. I was just thinking, you know what, I might as well just go home because after a long time working these people, this is what they see me as, you know, just another black guy with police, you know, being harassed by police, pinned down, you know, feet up and everything. So I rang my wife. I told her, you know what, this is what I've just experienced at work, and I'm thinking of coming home and whatnot. So we spoke for a bit. She was just like, you know what, stay calm. If you leave work, they'll probably just, you know, gain what they want, really. So you stay calm and whatnot. So I listened to her, and after that, she will obviously advise me, you know, if you can call dad as well and speak to dad. So I called my dad, and I was speaking to my dad and saying, I've just been to work and they printed a picture of a black guy protesting Black Lives Matter in London, and they put it up in the office at work, like, and they were making fun of it. That this is Abdul, this is Abdul Sabur, like he's here, he's in London, blah blah blah, he's protesting, and he's been harassed by police, pinned down. So my dad was like, you know what, first and foremost, stay calm, even though it's something that is very bad, you know. And what my dad said to me was, just ask the lady, which he like this was done by my manager, person I've been working with for 5 good years. She see me. This is how she's been seeing me for that length of time that we've been working with. I've been working with her for. So she turns around. My dad said to me that just said to her that your religion practice forgiveness, and you're gonna forgive her, but in that forgiveness, you want her to understand that what she done is wrong, that she could lose her job by that, and she could never get any job whatsoever, because racism and hate crime is, obviously, like I said, is a crime. And my dad said, just say to her, Islam teaches forgiveness, and at this moment, is a time for me to basically express my faith and my beliefs to these people, because at the end of the day, that's what the Prophet did. That's what the Prophet came to show to people. By Hazrat Bilal, he gave me the example of Hazrat Bilal, how he was being treated, but once he accepted Islam, he forgave a lot of people. And I was just listening to that, right? And I remember speaking to him, I got teary, because you can imagine how beautiful Islam is. If it was anyone that was not a Muslim, or any Muslim for that matter, they would have escalated this and they would take it somewhere else. But luckily for me, I had my wife, my mom, my family basically, that just guided me and spoke to me, just ask her to apologize to you for what she's done, and we're gonna leave it there. And I asked her, I told her everything. She could not believe it. She was so overwhelmed. She's like, oh my days. So you're not gonna take it any further? I'm like, listen, my religion teaches me not to. Once I forgive, that's it. Can't go back on it. So I've forgiven you. All I want from you now is for you to write me a letter of an apology. That's what my dad said to say to her. A letter of apology saying that you have apologized, and we've got proof of you being offensive to me by, causing me this harm and hurt. And she was crying, man. Like she could not stop crying, because that was when she realized what she had done. And at that moment, for me, showing her what Islam teaches, she felt overwhelmed, and she was like, "Oh my!" She could not believe it, that I'm actually, forgiving her, not, taking it further up, which I could have done. And most of my guys at work are saying, you know what, report her to the HR, get her sacked, this and that. And now when I was saying that to her, like, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, right, I know you've got mortgage to pay. I know you've got bills to pay. I'm not gonna be happy to see you lose your job. And that's not exactly the teachings of Islam. So just a letter of, forgiveness would be all right. And now she wrote me a letter of apology. I showed it to my dad, my wife, my mom, and everyone basically in the family, saying that this is what happened at work. My family basically comforting her, just like, oh, you're right. Hope it doesn't take, obviously, because people get like really offended, and it can take a different turn. But my family was very supportive, man, when that happened. And that was the first time for me experiencing it like hands-on at workplace. I've experienced it at uni, but at workplace is just different, because I've worked there. Uni was 3 years, and I knew most of the teachers were racist anyway, because we'd be in a group of, they put you in groups, right? And what would happen is that you both did the same assignment, and literally what you done is what you put down on paper that you've done this, right? But our white counterparts will get better marks than us. So which reflected on, all of that, establishment, what was going on at a uni. But this was just something else, that these people I've worked with for such a long time see me as different, someone else. Like, you know, it really hurt. But obviously, speaking to my family really comforted me in the example of Hazrat Bilal and, you know, teachings of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Khulafa and everything, man. It's just like it helped me calm down, and Alhamdulillah, man. It was, you know, it was dealt with in that manner.
I think, Sabur Jazakallah, I think that's such an amazing example of control of emotion, because I think that's what engulfs the world, is the emotional side of, especially what happened to George Floyd, and maybe putting emotions before thought, and not thinking about the result of their actions. But with you, I think, you know, you were able to control it, and you're able to look for the right answers before you took action. And alhamdulillah, you had your dad there to guide you in such an amazing way. So Jazakallah, I think it's a great way. I think maybe if you're a bit younger, you may have reacted in a different way. But because you,
like back then, back, you know, London days and whatnot, right? It was even different, you know what I mean? But obviously, we've grown up having my reading kids, and, you know, having dad support and family support is just something that, you know, I sort of cherish now. You know, I could have, like you said, acted differently there and then, but comported myself, you know.
yeah, that's the thing. Why lose out yourself, you know, reacting in the wrong way when you can react in the right way and just benefit from the situation?
Exactly, because
And
what they don't really know is like teach, because these people are, they're backwards. Everything, the establishment is the foundation of the country is systemic racism, and it's always going to be there. But it's up to us to basically show them other ways by showing the teachings of Islam and portraying it in an exemplary way that I felt they can understand that, you know what, we all one really. It's just we all got one, you know, blood, and it's red,
yeah,
different colors.
it's true, man. It's true. Jazakallah. Jazakallah, Sabur. Guys, we're running really short on time, but it's been such a fantastic conversation. We've talked about, you know, experiences from a Pakistani point of view, African point of view, and every other color that we can think of. So brilliant. Jazakallah, guys, for sharing your experiences. Inshallah, we're going to try more focusing on discussion topics on the weekly basis, because really nice hearing all of your voices. So if we do send out a topic, just think of a few points. So it's good to hear from everyone. So Jazakallah, Huda, Qasim, and everyone for contributing, and Hamza as well. So Jazakallah, guys, we'll stop there. Just before moving.